Housing. We need a lot more of it in Vermont and in Bennington County. That's not news. But trying to find a way to spur and encourage more housing development, especially in the affordable or workforce or missing middle, remains an unsolved problem. So the notion of infill housing, finding locations in existing neighborhoods where there's enough open space to build more houses that fit into the already established norms, and giving would-be developers a toolkit to navigate the financing and regulatory issues and laying out some preset design ideas, is one approach that might at least chip away at the problem. Enter the Department of Housing and Community Development and the Homes for All Toolkit. The toolkit, a 224-page document that's also available online, offers a roadmap for builders to construct smaller houses that fit in with local zoning codes and with finding the needed financial investment. Arlington was one of 5 towns around the state which were the scene of site visits last fall to see how the rubber met the road. And on Tuesday, June 11th, another meeting of potential builders, bankers, and financiers and community leaders took place at the Hub, a co-working space in downtown Rutland, hosted by the Department of Housing and Community Development to nudge the process forward some more. Amy Tomaso, the Community Planning and Project Manager for the Department of Housing and Community Development, kicked things off.
But ultimately it comes down to homes and people and communities and livelihoods, and that's really why we're here. And housing is an ecosystem, it's very complex. We can't talk about all of it today, we can't solve all of it today. Missing middle housing, which we'll focus on, is one part of the larger picture. And then we're talking about overlapping issues. There's housing access, housing affordability, they're kind of layers, and the solutions we're getting at today kind of fall right in the middle of how to provide more housing, but diverse housing in scale, in size, in price ranges, and that's, again, this kind of missing middle concept next.
She was followed by a series of regional and state funders discussing current and upcoming funding streams for small-scale development.
The toolkit covers a lot of different avenues for funding, both residential opportunities on the side of the bank and commercial. But I'm here to focus mostly on how we would participate on the commercial side of the bank. And I did put our mission statement here because when I was reading through the toolkit and the purpose of this, I thought about how we were discussing our mission statement last year, and we updated it to talk, and we put it as simple as helping build better communities.
So we want to be the recognized provider for housing here, and particularly market rate housing. And when you think about the challenges to scale a development of 8 family or 15 family, or frankly 1 to 4 family, when I hear Mayor Mike talk about bringing 1,000 houses online here in the city of Rutland, that is going to be all of us working together. That isn't going to be just a VHFA or VHIP or others. And so as an organization that are headquartered here in Rutland with over 177 employees, a couple things that we're really focused on. One, we want to truly be the recognized provider of housing within the southern part of the state. Number 2, when we think about the resources needed to bring, just as an example, 1,000 houses, we don't have the folks to build 1,000 houses. And so how do we scale small businesses? How do we bring on 15 Zach Hales in this area? And I'll tell you, they need education, they need financial resources, they need access to capital, they need access to debt. And so what we're doing is investing not in brick and mortar. You're not going to see us build another branch in the near future. It's investment in people resources.
The summit then broke into 3 parts. Some went out for a walking tour of sites identified in downtown Rutland for infill development, while others stayed at the Hub for a project pitch session. It was an opportunity for small-scale developers to workshop their project with a group of funders and regulators. Meanwhile, a third group played Think Like a Developer, a board game that illustrated some typical development constraints and had people design a missing middle site plan using a kit of parts. We had a chance to talk with some of the participants in the summit afterwards.
Well, for me, it's just, I'm a small-time developer, so, it's like I had 3 or 4 different housing units that I funded and produced, but it's really hard to get the math to work nowadays because I was buying houses that were in foreclosure, bank-owned properties or auction properties, and I could buy them and then have enough money to fix them up and then get a decent return. And Now those houses are all gone, right? So all the houses are in foreclosure or bank owned, all those are gone now. And so now you're buying what you would buy for $100,000, you're paying $300,000 to get. By the time you put in your sweat equity, they don't pencil out. So now I'm looking at new construction, but at $400 or $500 a square foot, that doesn't pencil out. So the math's not working for me anymore. So to put all this energy into developing new units, the math doesn't work. It just can't do it. So I'm on the sideline.
Hearing from other people working in the housing area, I think this logjam that we're seeing with seniors being able to downsize might create, if we create some senior housing opportunities, there may be opportunities for opening up new housing for families that are looking to relocate into the area and fulfill some of the workforce needs that we have in our communities.
Is it mainly like the financial side of this that's the stumbling block, or is it also like things like the municipal zoning rules or Act 250? Is one of the others stand out to you as being the number one problem?
I do think that the Homes Act that was recently passed opened up a lot of opportunities in terms of at least potentially eliminating red tape with regard to Act 250. So prior to the Homes Act, I think many towns were limited to maybe 4 units or less. So hopefully as that gets implemented, there'll be opportunities to create a little bit larger housing, but small towns, it's 1 unit at a time. So if there's a way to free up a family home for a new family coming in and seniors being able to downsize, I think that would might be a channel that's worth pursuing.
Yeah, I mean, I think solutions are, one-offs. It's how the Vermont way often works, but I think conversations like this, there was a tremendous amount of enthusiasm in the room. I think this probably could have been an all-day conference. The fact that we have some developers here willing to share their ideas and try to figure solutions, and people in the room who could potentially help solve them, I think is a potential path forward. I mean, we know the math challenges in creating housing in Vermont are difficult, but it's through this type of partnership and creativity, I think, that we can get to some of those solutions.
This is the Southwest Vermont Homes for All mini summit. So it's taking the Homes for All toolkit and bringing it to Rutland and Bennington counties and having a much more kind of hands-on, applicable workshop style summit where we had project pitch sessions and local and statewide funders to really get into the weeds and the nitty-gritty of how do you actually fund missing middle housing projects, and not just the designs, that's important, land use, site planning, all that, but how do you build these and make it happen?
How are you seeing evidence that this is beginning to get some traction around the state? The idea of infill housing?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that 60 people came out on a Tuesday morning to Rutland and it was a packed room. We had great questions and enthusiasm speaks for itself. But yes, this is conversations happening all over the state. People are really picking up on it. They see the need. It's very practical. Missing middle works for seniors, for younger families. It's in walkable locations near amenities. It just makes sense for Vermont.
Vermont needs thousands of new homes and other older housing stock refurbished. There's a long way to go, but infill housing may offer one route to building homes in the Vermont vernacular that answers part of the larger need. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.